From a distance, it might look like a ghostly warship standing in the middle of the sea, but you would be surprised to know that this warship is what has brought you to such heights of progress today. How? Why did 5,000 people once live here? Why did they have to suddenly flee from this ghostly island one night, leaving everything behind? And why has this island been completely declared off limits for the past 50 years? Let's find the answers to all these questions today. Although at first you thought it was a warship, but no, it's not a warship, it's an island. The name of the island is Hashima Island, which is located right in the middle of the China Sea, 15 kilometers away from Nagasaki City in Japan. Interestingly, this island looks a lot like a battleship, and that's why it's also called Battleship Island. Although there are about 500 more islands like this in the middle of the sea, there are no inhabitants there either. But there is a different story behind Hashima Island being uninhabited. Originally, this island was a rocky island. As a result, farming there was almost impossible. Yet Hashima Island held the most significance in Japan's economy, and this was one of Japan's prominent coal mines. From the history of the past 150 years, it is known that approximately 16,500,000 tons of coal were extracted from beneath this island. Coal mining here primarily began around the 1800s. Initially, the people living on Takashima Island, a little distance from Hashima Island, were quite puzzled to see coal lying on the ground, because at that time they knew nothing about the use of coal, but a person named Kohika suddenly discovered the method of using coal. After that, everyone on the island started gathering the coal lying on the ground in one place, and by burning that coal, they began to heat their homes, and in this way, by around 1850, Nagasaki gradually became known as an international shipping port. Meanwhile, America and Britain decided to change the steam engines of their ships to use coal. For this reason, they had to come to Nagasaki shipping port regularly for coal. As the demand for coal gradually increased, they started digging for coal underground. However, after a while, all the coal in the ground was exhausted. Then they began searching for coal on various nearby islands. Among these, Hashima was the only island with a large reserve of coal. At that time, they used to dig for coal by hand. But as the demand for coal increased day by day, it was no longer possible to dig so much coal by hand. So in the 19th century, the Mitsubishi company wanted to buy this island and start full-scale coal production. So the Mitsubishi company built a strong wall around the island to protect it from the sea waves. Interestingly, because of this wall, the island still looks like a battleship. By 1965, it was seen that nearly 3,000 workers lived on the island. Those who mined and stored about 150 tons of coal per year. But because Hashima Island was very small, there was very little space to live. Therefore, Mitsubishi company started building tall buildings at that time so that the coal workers could live here with their families. But even then, it was not possible to accommodate so many workers. Over time, as the demand for workers increased, the Mitsubishi company was constructing one building after another there. Along with that, they were providing everything necessary, including schools and a cinema hall for the workers' children. Meanwhile, by the year 1941, the island's coal production exceeded 410,000 tons. Along with that, the amount of coal production was increasing every day. In this way, after about 18 more years, by the year 1959, the total population of this island reached 5,245 people. However, the island's total area was merely 15.50 acres. This meant that 335 individuals were forced to live in extremely cramped conditions per acre. The workers residing on Hashima Island at that time reported they were compelled to share a single room, 3 people together. However, that room had sleeping space for only 2 people, and the third person would somehow stretch out and fall asleep. The wretched lives of those laborers didn't just stop there, because this island had a coal mine almost a kilometer deep underground, where the temperature was more than 35 degrees Celsius. Working in such a dreadful environment was extremely dangerous for the workers. It was almost a very common sight to witness laborers dying due to various accidents. Furthermore, during the period of the Second World War, the laborers in these coal mines were subjected to various forms of torment and abuse to force them to extract even greater quantities of coal. It is precisely for this reason that, even after so many years have passed since the Second World War, many countries still look upon Japan with a strong sense of hatred. However, following the Second World War, the then head of state of Japan, in an effort to preserve their reputation, arranged for various facilities and benefits for the workers on that island. They had provided all the necessities for a society, such as cinema halls, schools, restaurants, and clubs. And these facilities were completely free for the workers at that time. But it was also true that in exchange, they had to work extremely hard. Also, drinking water for those workers was brought from mainland island Japan. Later, a direct pipeline was installed from the island to the mainland. Thus, the workers' lives on the island somehow continued until 1960, and Japan too experienced considerable prosperity because of this island's coal mines. However, soon after, this coal mine, which was one of Japan's primary economic power suppliers, began its downfall, because it was around that very time that the use of coal-powered engines began to significantly decrease across the entire world. Numerous scientific studies and research began to reveal the detrimental effects of coal on the environment. As a direct consequence of this, the popularity of oil slowly but surely started to increase, and in the international market, coal began to steadily lose its widespread popularity. Furthermore, a great many coal mines all across the world were forced to close their operations. On one hand, Hashima Island was located quite a distance from Japan's mainland mass. Moreover, it was situated entirely in the open sea. This made transporting various essential supplies to the island quite arduous. On the other hand, its location in the perilous South China Sea meant it was constantly plagued by tsunamis and other natural calamities. Even though the Mitsubishi company had constructed a concrete wall all around the island, however, because of the continuous powerful storms, these walls would frequently collapse. Consequently, they were forced to spend additional money to repair them time and again. In this manner, the profits generated from the coal on Hashima Island gradually began to diminish. And so, compelled in 1970, Mitsubishi Corporation relocated about 2,000 workers from here to another coal mine. Then suddenly, on January 15, 1974, Mitsubishi Corporation officially declared the Hashima coal mine closed. As a result, the coal workers, finding no other option, were forced to abandon the island that very night. The sad reality is that an entire generation of people had grown up on this very island, but they were compelled to abandon it overnight. To not to but tidur intended to. And so currently, this island in the South China Sea has transformed into an uninhabited ghost town. In this 21st century, the island has seemingly been rediscovered, and worldwide, it has now gained considerable popularity as a ghost town. However, in 2005, the Japanese government opened the island to tourists. Furthermore, at various times, many companies tried to make the island's buildings habitable once more, but after being left abandoned for so long, they've become completely unsuitable for renovation. Additionally, due to tsunamis and typhoons, many of the island's buildings have collapsed, and many others are almost on the verge of falling apart. So the island has now become a ghost city. However, if you wish, you can still go and visit the island now.